Hey, free timers. Do you think the only way to become an entrepreneur is to hustle till you drop? Well, that's the old script, and it's broken. In this episode, we'll show you how to make the leap without burning out and why the no hustle path can actually get you there faster. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Time Freedom Podcast, where you can learn how to rethink your work and your money to create a life you love right now. Join us for insights to help you find meaningful freedom so you can choose how and when and with whom you work for as long as you want. Here are your hosts, me, Brian Herriot, and Kirby Denison. All right, welcome to episode number 8, the No Hustle Transition to Entrepreneur. And as we were talking just before, as we were prepping, we both had some interesting experiences actually last night. What did you do last night, Kirby?
Yes, so I went down to downtown Disneyland. I'm in California right now and for some training, which I can talk about later. But that was like my first experience. The people in California, you guys have like a nightlife, and
Well,
I am not that way. I'm like 8 o'clock in bed, and everyone here is like, "Oh yeah, we stayed till like 11:30 midnight," and I'm like, "How? How do you function?"
I think I'm like you. I was in bed actually last night at 8:45, but my experience was I was jolted awake at 2:56 this morning. I don't know if you felt it down there, but there was a 4.6 magnitude earthquake in Berkeley, which is, you know, like 10 miles from our house, and I felt it. I've lived here for 20 years. It was the biggest one that I've ever felt, but Claire kept sleeping. Thea was sleeping. None of them felt it, but I definitely felt it. It was crazy.
Goodness. So actually the very first time that I came to California, the day I ended up taking a red-eye flight, which I hate doing, and the next morning, you guys had an earthquake here, and I was, like, in Orange County, actually, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, I don't know how I would handle that, but then the next time I went home, there was tornadoes at home, so I don't know which is worse, earthquakes or tornadoes.
Well, we should probably get into it, I suppose. We are here to talk about how to transition from, your existing traditional employed career into entrepreneurship, or maybe as an entrepreneur from one service to another. But a lot of people think that the best way to do this is by hustling. And I'm not
Mhm.
completely against hustling, but I don't love it. And I feel like there's a better, smarter way to do it. Let me tell you my background around hustle. My dad was my high school. No, excuse me. My dad was my little league baseball coach, and he was not like a baseball mastermind by any stretch of the imagination. He was just kind of one of those coaches who coaches the team because the team needs a coach, one of those situations.
Mhm.
And so because he didn't have any exquisite baseball skills to teach us, his strategy was just work harder than the other kid, hustle harder than the other kid. And so we would run. We would do a lot of exercise instead of training for baseball. And I think it's because my dad just wanted to get a good workout in. And so he would have us run around the fields 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. If any kid on the team could ever beat him, we would stop, but nobody ever beat him. And then at the end, he'd be like, all right, who wants to do one more? And of course, I always had to do one more because I was the coach's kid, and I wanted to, prove myself. So I learned about hustle from an early age. And I just, and that's what I did. And
Mhm.
I think when you're earlier in your career or you're early proving yourself, you don't have a lot of other things to fall back on other than the one way you can differentiate yourself, which is to work harder. So again, not against hustle. I just feel like usually at the point we're at when we're thinking about time freedom, we have other things at our disposal that we can leverage so that we don't have to work so hard. We don't have to do the side hustle early into the mornings while still working our main job. It's just too
Mhm.
much, and there's a better, smarter way.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, super important. I mean, how I kind of transitioned into my business, and I can share more, like, as we kinda go through this, episode, is I was definitely in that, like, early morning starting my business, late at night, still working a 9 to 5, transitioning out, and it was a lot, and you can burn out fast. So, knowing that there's another way and still being able to, like, grow and get that solid foundation I don't know, it's just like a gift that nobody talks about.
Yes, I think so. Let's talk about the things that you can leverage to work. I hate this phrase, but to work smarter, not harder. I have what I describe as the no hustle transition framework. It's 3 circles that when you kind of put them on top of each other, you've got the perfect transition plan. And what the thing to keep in mind, is that, and we'll go a little bit deeper in these, but when you kind of line them all up, that's when things happen for you. So I'll just say what they are kind of initially. The first is you have to focus on a proven service offering. So here's what I mean by that. It's, we're not, if we're going to transition into entrepreneurship, we're not transitioning into some brand new innovative idea, something that no one's ever done before, because hint, they've probably actually done it. But what we're doing is we're saying, what skill have I developed over the course of my career so far? And could I actually take that skill, whatever it is, and apply it to entrepreneurship? So my example, the transition that I made that actually helped get me time freedom was that I had been in business consulting, management consulting for years, 10, 15 years before I ever said, oh, well, maybe I'll just step out and do it on my own. And that's so I didn't have to learn a new offer. I didn't have, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I just needed to do it on my own. Boy, did that make it a lot less work for me. I didn't have to learn something new while I was also trying to become an entrepreneur. That's what I mean by proven service offering. The second one is to leverage a strong and active network. We all have networks. We've all, worked with people. We all know people that are willing to help us out. It's just that, at least I'm guilty of this. When you're moving on to the next stage of your life, you kind of lose touch with people. And there's a lot of value in taking the time to go back and reestablish those connections with people that already know you and that would be willing to get behind you and support you in whatever way possible. And then finally, the third one is to focus on skills. And not just any skill. You already know the skill of the service that you're offering. I'm talking about entrepreneurial skills. So it is true that working as a career employed professional is different from entrepreneurship. You need to understand what it feels like to have 100% ownership over the work that you do and the success that you have and the ambiguity that comes with things. It is a different mindset and a different set of skills associated with, what does it take to close books and do your taxes for your business and all of those sorts of things. It sounds overwhelming, but these are all very learnable. And, I want you to take the time to learn these things probably while you're at your existing place of employment so that when you step off into entrepreneurship, you have this set of skills. So it's proven service offering, an active network, and specific entrepreneurial skills make up the no hustle transition framework.
Yeah, and they are all very important. And like as we go through the episode, I know we'll get deeper into everything, but that's exactly like how I got started too. I think the big one that you talk about at the end is the entrepreneurial skills, because so many of us, we know businesses are out there, but most of us, I would say, probably haven't started a business at some point, and truly had a successful business. And like, what does that foundation look like? Because if you don't have a good foundation, it's like quicksand, right? Like, so having those skills up front is huge. I mean, and can change the whole trajectory of your business.
And at some point, you just need to do it and you will learn these skills in the moment. Sometimes you'll just need to try that business out, retire it, and try another business because you'll know, what business that you don't want to do. It just came to mind. I had a friend that was a co-owner in a meat distribution company. So they would take the pork sausages, make them into sausage, and they wouldn't make them into sausage. They would take the sausages and sell them to the grocery stores. They had inventory, a lot of it, that they had to fund. And then if they didn't sell it and it went bad, then you lose that money. So he learned very quickly. The next thing he did was to have a business with absolutely no inventory, especially inventory that would go bad. And that's the beauty of a lot of the lifestyle businesses that I tout, is that these are service businesses. We don't have inventory. I learned that lesson from him. I didn't have to start my own inventory-based business.
Yeah, I can't say the same. I sold Mary Kay through college, and it's all based on like inventory, right? Because people want their stuff right now. And I mean, it helped me pay for college. However, the inventory nightmare, also learned my lesson, will not ever.
So let's talk about this proven service offering. So the proven part, I think, is more straightforward. It's like, what have you done, and what can you provide to someone to that understands what this service is and then is willing to pay for it. So for example, I mentioned it as part of the entrepreneurial skills, but people, if you own a business, you need to close your books and do your taxes. It is something that's required. It's a service that would be purchased because it's
Mhm.
required. So that's what I mean by proven. And now what kind of service offering could we talk about here that might be something that would help you out? And how I like to think about this is it's something that somebody will pay for that you know how to do, but you do it with a twist. Now, what does that mean? It's, if you're just the same old accountant or the same old landscaper, it's really hard to stand out. So instead of
Mhm.
standing out by having some unique new business idea, just do the service in a slightly different way. So I've come across these over the course of my life. I mean, one that I remembered from a long time ago was there was this place, I think it was in Berkeley, where the earthquake happened, and it was a mechanic, and they touted that they were female-owned mechanic, and I'm like, that's a
Mm.
cool idea, because how many people feel like they're getting ripped off at a mechanic? Especially, I don't know if, like, my wife doesn't like to take the car in because she feels like she's going to get taken advantage of. She's like, I'd love to do it, but would you just do it? And I thought, oh, how cool is this? Women owned, women who would feel comfortable doing that. Again, people need to have their cars fixed, but just accentuate something a little bit different. Another one was when we were in England with my son for the soccer this past summer. I think I've mentioned on the podcast. A couple of people went to this place. It was called Karen's Diner, and it was in Liverpool. And you need to eat, right? So that's obvious. But their thing was that they were outright rude to you. Like, they would kick you out of the restaurant and like harass you in front of other people. And so many people wanted to go there for that experience, including the people that went there. I didn't go there. I like to eat in peace, but how interesting is that? Or just recently when Theo had his dental surgery, anesthesiologist that took him under was a guy who he operated kind of independent of insurance. So easier payment, more payment. That was
Mhm.
interesting. But he provided such a unique service, which was that, now this didn't really apply to Theo because he's a little bit older, but he would dress up like Buzz Lightyear, and he was like mobile, and he would go to wherever the dental office was. So he was like a traveling Buzz Lightyear pediatric mobile anesthesiologist. Again, a service that you need, but what a unique way to do it. I just thought it was pretty cool. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
come across ideas like this, or just sometimes you see something, you're like, oh, I just like how they're doing that.
Yeah, I think, well, first the anesthesiologist thing, that's really cool because having 3 littles and just having something to take that edge off, because how many of us are, like, terrified of the dentist? Like, that's so cool. That's such a unique idea. Like, how can you be unique and still be yourself too? And I don't know, like, just being able to be crazy if you wanna be crazy, or, like.
And when, like, I'm noticing this now, when you're in high school, all you want to do is be the same as everybody.
Mhm.
That's what I'm experiencing in my own life with my own child. But I think as you get older, you need to embrace the uniqueness about you, including
Mhm.
how it comes through and how you perform, your.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely will probably be like, as I've been thinking about this a lot, is like, how do you set yourself apart? Because there's 900 people that do business
Yes.
coaching or fractional COO stuff. And like, for me, it's, my brand's going to be fun and spunky, and definitely like my personality is not just like I don't know, regular dress pants and whatever. Like when I worked at the bank, some of the looks that I got, I'm like, I don't know, like 60s or 70s, like, the bell bottoms with the stripes, or like things like that. And like people are like, are you in the, like, I live in the wrong generation, I think, but.
When you mentioned that, I was thinking, oh, as a financial advisor, how am I different? Well, for one, I try not to make you feel dumb because you don't know about some financial
Mhm.
product. That's should be easy to do, but it's unique, believe it or not. The other one is I
Mhm.
don't love wearing suits and ties. I still think you can provide a meaningful service. I don't want to just force that and kind of have this
Right.
image. So, I mean, I believe that I can still do wonderful things for people and wear clothes that are comfortable,
Yeah,
and act
exactly. Like.
supportive, of clients.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that that's huge too, because I mean, that also brings another level of comfort, because when you talk about finances specifically, it's such a deep and like personal thing. to be able to be comfortable and like walk in and A, not feel like you're stupid, and B, know that you're just in regular clothes. You're a regular person and not just, there's no, what do they call it, like hierarchy or
Right.
something with you,
Exactly.
you know? And if you're a decent human being, like, I think also that sets it apart. There's so many people that are just trying to either get the business or sell you to sell you, and it's like, "Okay, but your offer really doesn't help me." And so I think that, like, thing behind it and having that transparency also sets people apart.
And if you're authentic, you attract people who are attracted to you. And those are the people that you'll want to
Mhm.
work with anyway. So it kind of, the pretentious people who need someone to dress up, well, then I just won't work with those people. And that's fine. That's fine by me.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
let's go on to the next one. Yeah, which is a strong and active network. So I'm working on my copy edits for the book over the weekend, and so I'm familiar with this one because I happen to be doing a lot of edits in this area. So, this is an interesting thing to pursue because keeping an active network is not. I knew this person once who would just like send out an email over Christmas to like 1,000 people, and that's not keeping an active network. It's kind of the opposite. It's repelling it. Instead, what advise this strategy inside the book, which is to diligently think back through the people that you like that have come across in different stages of your life. So think back to like, and the idea is to do this on a piece of paper. You go, all right, let's think about college. Let's think about that first job. Let's think about when I lived in this city one, and then when I moved to that other city two. And you write down these different stages, and maybe you come up with like 5 or 7 stages of your life. And then to go back and think, who did I really get along with? Was I just attracted to at those stages? And it's kind of meant to just quickly come up with like, uh, when I did some work up in the Seattle area, and that was like a 3-year stint of my life. And there are like 3 or 4 people that I'm like, what happened to them? I just really loved the moment that I had. We worked so closely together. We always had each other's backs. And you write down the names from the different stages. Before you know it, you've come up with like 40, 50 people. And now the strategy is, okay, you've got these people that are in your life that at one point were a huge part of your life that you don't have to create a network with, right? These are just people that you already know. So it's just that makes me feel easier, more at ease. And then the idea is, just on the first Friday of the month, call these people up, send them a text out of the blue. I love it when I get those from people that I know, not from people that I
Yep.
don't know. And before, if you do that over the course of the year, you'll have, 40 or 50 people pulling for you. And these aren't even
Mhm.
people that you're actively going out and seeking. I think by getting into business in the area that you want to work, you're naturally going to come up and develop your own new network. But this is an easy way to just get going on your older, more established, the network that you already have that's just kind of like withering there on the vine, and you can kind of amp it back up.
Yeah, rekindle that relationship. I think that's great idea too, because when you were thinking or talking about reaching back out to the people in college, even like there were so many. I mean, I was part of a sorority, Sigma Alpha, which is an ag based sorority. Looking at all of the people that I was close with there and like seeing the different places that they've gone, like that's a whole other network that you could be tapping into because a lot of them are entrepreneurs. A lot of them are, at least for me personally, a lot of them are working with either smaller businesses. Like those are easy places that, A, if you're genuine and just catching up, and then like keeping them kind of top of mind, like when something comes up, like that's great referral based. Because for me, my whole business up until this point has been referral based. So it's been using those networks and using those different places. Like, I mean, I guess aside from you, which was still through a network, my business coaches network, everything has been personal referral based. So, and if you're good at it and you have that rapport or whatever you want to call it, reputation, then it's easy to refer and kind of leverage those places.
And I just always fall back on the fact that, you already know these people. So you're just
Yes.
starting out way ahead of where you would be if
It,
you're trying to establish new friends, new
yeah.
colleagues.
And I think, well, and if you think about the buying cycle now too, I mean, it used to be what, 7 touch points. Now it's much longer. It was kind of pretty rapid through COVID, but
Hmm.
now people want that a connection again. They're not just buying the first thing that they see. So you have to build that. And it's such a slower process. It doesn't always have to be, but it is a slower process than when you already have that relationship established.
Agreed. All right, entrepreneurial skills. So what are these entrepreneurial skills? I think there are three main ones that we're talking about here. And the first is because I'm working with so many coaches and consultants and advisors and whatnot that these are people and relationship businesses. So the first skill that you need to really, really focus on is your customer service because you are the business. And so if you aren't engaging and helpful and supportive and doing whatever you can to help out your client, well, you're never going to get that referral because you're never, no one's ever going to want to give it to you. So it all starts there. So customer service, that's it. Then once you establish your service and your customer service to us to go along with it, you're gonna develop the networks, right? And then the referrals, but
Mhm.
you still need to sell them on the service
Mhm.
that you then provide them. So that's why the second skill I believe that's most important is your sales skills. And there's so many different ways to sell it depending upon the type of thing that you're selling. For example, I'll tell you what I don't know how to sell very well is software to a large business, as I experienced personally in my attempts at selling Readiness software, which is still a thriving business. It's just that I'm not trying to sell it anymore because we're doing
Mhm.
way better without me doing that. It's difficult. The sales, though, that I can do well, selling that, works in a consultative environment, is something that works for the single person or the very small uh, service business. And it's a
Mhm.
process that I learned from Laura Wright, who has her own sales coaching business. It's the same Laura Wright that we talked about much earlier in the episode on the time freedom formula. She's the one that her husband offered to use his retirement to help set her up in her sales coaching business. Well, she taught me this method that works incredibly well. And it is a 5-step process that anyone can do because it's so natural. So I'm just going to
Mhm.
state it for everybody. And the first one is to connect. And so I'm sure you've experienced a sales call or something that you've been part on where you've been sold and they just like get right to business and there's no like connection. People like themselves. And so I feel it's pretty easy to find a place somebody lives or where they went to school or some random thing that connects you. And once you just observe that and state it, it changes the dynamic completely. It completely, connects you to the person that you're speaking with. And so that's the first step that cannot be rushed. But then, quickly you need to move into the actual sale. And people buy things out of a reason for needing it. It's usually out of some sort of pain associated with
Mhm.
something. They want to achieve time freedom because they're struggling in their current scenario. So you have to kind of go there with the pain, not to like, go overboard on it, but to sit and understand what the issue is that is trying to be solved, because then you can offer in the third part, which is vision, a vision for where you could get them. And this is usually through examples that you share about other transformations that you've been able to offer with other clients. And hopefully then you can say, is that similar to your situation? And they can start to see how they could come from pain to vision and transform. And that is a very important process to take someone through, because then at that point they're like, I can see how that worked. And then the fourth step is to actually invite them to purchase from you,
Mhm.
which I think a lot of people never do. You kind of go through this process and you're like, okay, thank you, goodbye. So in the fourth step, you invite them to do something with you, and you have to be clear in what your offers are and probably offer them a
Mhm.
couple or three and try to zero in on the one that will be, the most valuable. Now, of course, if you get through this process and realize that you can't help them for whatever reason, they're not the right fit, the service offering that you provide won't help them, let them know. Comfortably close the call and be done with it.
Mhm.
And I think people will respect you for it and maybe refer you to someone else that you can help. And that's the fourth step. The fifth step is objections. So sometimes people will be like, well, I don't know if now is the right time. I don't know if my spouse will go for it. And so these are all very valid objections. It's just that in the sales process, you want to have thought those objections through ahead of time so that you have a clear next thing that you say. And, it shouldn't be like, oh, whoops, I don't know what to do now, right? Because, and the more calls that you have, the more you'll realize what the common objections are so that you can prepare for them.
Mhm.
And sometimes the objection is real. And if it is, then great. And, agree to touch base in 6 months or whatever it happens to be. But that's this 5-step sales process that works so well because it's natural, it's conversational, it talks to the transformation of the person that you're working with. And it's something that I recommend to anyone and everyone that I talk to.
Yeah, and I would say that's exactly how I pretty much structure my whole foundation. I started offering a clarity call, and it's exactly that. The first few minutes is building that connection and really trying to figure out, like, well, building rapport basically
Hmm.
and getting to know them as a person. And then for me, what's been helpful is I did that exact thing. I went through and I fleshed out, like, who's my ideal client? What are the things that I can offer and I know I am capable of solving with
Hmm.
my services? And I speak to those pain points. I speak to, like, how do we restructure your calendar? How do we restructure your back end systems to, like, maximize your time and effort and whatever? And, like, finding those pain points, and then you can speak to that. And then exactly what you're saying in the vision space, like, share the example, share the transformation, because people buy on the transformation now more than ever. And I heard a statistic once that, or actually just recently, that people will, once they start looking, they will buy a service within 24 hours. It's just a matter
Oh,
of who they're going to buy from. Maybe it's like even 48 hours, but I mean, pretty quickly, once you've decided that you're going to do that. And 98% of us do not ask for the sale in your invitation piece. So, or the other piece past that is we ask for the sale, but we never follow up. And so making sure you follow up, because
yes.
some people wait for that just to see if you follow up. And that's what makes their decision, is it's not just a one and done thing. And then the objection piece, for me, I like to even go, it's when you get objections, it's that they're not really like seeing the true value, and it's specifically around pricing objections, I would say.
Yeah.
But then, like, you kind of have to go, like, circle back and to, like, that vision piece and, like, speak to their pain point, get them back through that, and then ask for the sale again. And they talk about, like, trial closes a lot, like, if you can get 2 yeses, then you can get the sale, and you kind of find your own. But definitely, like, following those 5 steps, and it doesn't have to be a long call. I mean, you can do it in 20 minutes. Like, you're going to know if you can help this person or not pretty quickly if you know those true pain points and speak to your true strengths.
I love it. We're running a little bit long, which is fine, but let's leave our listeners with something that they can take with them to assess if they are ready to transition or if they need to develop these skills a bit more.
Mhm.
And in our next episode, we'll talk about how I actually offer people the idea of giving yourself a year to get these
Okay.
things in order while you're also saving up money to self-fund your transition. So a little preview there, but this will give you a sense for where you're starting from. So this is a how many question, 9-question assessment. It's always under 10, so people feel more likely to do it. I'm going to ask the question and then rate it on a score of 1, 2, or 3. This is similar to a lot of the assessments in the book. They're meant to be really quick and easy. 1 is not really, 2 is kind of, and 3 is yes. And these are questions around service offering, active network, and entrepreneurial skills. So Kirby, we talked about this ahead of time. You're going to take this as I'm going to ask you the questions. You'll take the assessment on what? Your readiness.
Yeah, so I think this is like Brain I mentioned at the beginning, like, you can do this as you're starting out or when you're pivoting in your business.
Uh-huh.
So for me, I'm going to take this today as, like, adding in my coaching services. That's a newer offer that I'm offering. And so I'm excited.
All right, so let's add these. I'll keep track. So 1, 2, or 3. So the first 4 questions are around service offering. Number 1, do people actively purchase the service I will offer?
Coaching service, absolutely.
Certainly. 3, is my service unique in any way? My expertise, how it's offered, etc.
Yes, it will be a lot of foundations using the NLP skills that I'm learning and really helping them focus and get through not just like band-aid fixes. So many of people are just like, rinse and repeat things, and that doesn't work for everyone. So really meeting the person where they are. And then, as I mentioned earlier, my brand is like fun and spunky. So I think that sets me apart a little bit too.
Perfect. Is it easy to quickly adjust or adapt what I offer or how I offer it?
Yes. because it's tailored individually.
And is the biggest startup cost my time versus employees or inventory?
Yes, probably time.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, already you're well off. So here's a personal network. Do I already personally know many people who need my service?
Yes.
You do.
I'm gonna start out with, like, a minimum of 10. So, I mean, between all of my people and my network,
You can find
like
10.
referral based, I could find 10.
You do tend to transition very quickly. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yes. I can't wait to share that story, in a few episodes.
Okay. Is my network of connections alive and active, or could it be
I would
more alive and
say
active?
it could definitely be more alive and active
So kind of
too.
two. And then entrepreneurial skills. Am I already heralded for what I will offer? Meaning I get great results already and people love working with me, or is it new?
Uh, so what I will be offering is not really new because it's implementing things that I've learned
Uh-huh.
and I'm adding skills, like, consistently. So I'm between, like, a 2 and a 3.
Let's give
I
ourselves
guess,
a
I don't
two,
know.
just because otherwise you're just three on everything.
That's true,
How about
yeah.
this
I'm
one?
like,
Yep.
I guess it would be the question of, like, do people love working with me?
Yes, they do. Number 8, am I proven at sales?
Not really.
All right.
For
1
this specific
for
offer.
this offer. Not many people are. I think it is a learned skill though. And finally, am I
Mhm.
skilled at managing cash and other business finances? Okay, so what do you have a total? I can add this up really quick. Yeah, I actually counted up 23. Is that what you got?
Yeah. Yep.
So 23. So the way to look at this is if usually if you score between 12 and 22, you can likely do a transition with a year if you spend that year working on these things. You're at 23, which is higher than a 22. So you're certainly and most likely able to, or you're most likely able to transition in less than a year and probably much faster. Hopefully
Mhm.
that sounds about right, kind of based on what you're
Yeah.
experiencing. And of course, if you're under 12, it'll probably take you longer to transition, maybe because you're newer into the workforce. You don't have that big of a network yet. You just have, more work to do. And but that's totally possible. We're not talking about 2 decades here. We're talking about, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And so that's also good. Yeah.
Yeah, and really when I would say, like, when I started my business, I mean, obviously, I wasn't, like, 3s across the board by any means, so I would definitely have been in that I would say, like, probably 12 to 15,
Mhm.
and it did. I mean, it took me 10 months to fully transition out of my 9 to 5, like, which is kind of unheard of. I mean, that's pretty fast, but and again, I'll share more of that later, but yeah, I mean, so it's definitely doable within a year.
Awesome. Well, I think we should wrap. And so next week, we are going to talk about self funding your transition. And
Yay.
we will get to that quickly. And in the meantime, uh, check out Kirby and her company at kirbyandco.com. How do you, it's Kirby. So, no,
So it's actually Kirby Ann, yeah, so KirbyAnnCo.com.
got it.
CO.
And you can check out me and everything time freedom related at timefreedom.life. Always like and subscribe, leave us an honest review. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next episode.